tellers are wonderful. They know our names. Why would we want to bank anywhere else?
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 5.
Welcome into Mississippi Live Weather 5. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. A severe weather threat on the way for your Wednesday. Does include the potential for damaging winds, maybe some hailstones, and honestly also some heavy rainfall, just kind of depending on how the setup places our showers and thunderstorms. Our severe threats, again, we're not probably talking about high-end severe weather, but a few 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts are a possibility. Tornadoes are not expected out of this setup here. These storms will remain fairly disorganized, and that's why, again, we'll probably also have a limited hail threat. A few hailstones certainly a possibility. The northwest portion of the state, most likely spot to have some of those storms form. We'll also, again, as we talked about last night, that threat extending now all the way to the Mississippi-Alabama state line. So that expectation, something fulfilled by the folks there at the Storm Prediction Center. So looking at our headlines this evening, obviously, isolated storms are still possible tonight, but a lot of us, in comparison to tomorrow, are not going to see a whole lot. Those storms, I think, Wednesday into Wednesday night, and we have differences based on different projections on the positioning of where those could all end up rolling in. And we are at Jetson Phase 1 in Mississippi Live News. Our Emily Leonard joins us with the very latest and a little breaking news.
Yeah, we'll start with that breaking news first. If you haven't already heard, Dolly Parton passed away. Her family announced it on social media today. Obviously, a beloved icon, singer, songwriter, humanitarian, all around amazing person. She died at the age of 80. And I think we can all say we are all big fans, not only of her music, but of just her. I mean, we called her Queen Dolly for a reason. And I mean, like, I keep my little Dolly sticker on my desk. Of course, it says the bigger the hair, the closer to God. Very appropriate. I've also got Dolly's cookbook that she had with her sister. And just in case, in typical Dolly fashion, she made a cast iron. And you can't really see it very well, but that's Dolly on the bottom of this cast iron. So yeah, I was a big fan as well. Will always be a big fan. Our daughter, a big fan. So it's just been a really heartbreaking day for a lot of people. As I said earlier, I really hate this timeline. Like, this is just not what anybody wanted to hear. The family said that she died peacefully at home, and she actually requested a small private ceremony with just immediate family. It's just very Dolly of her. In local news, though, you mentioned Jetson Phase 1. Yeah, we're talking like the Jetsons, like the old school cartoon, talking about, you know, driving your car in the air, but not really so much a person driving it as much as a machine. Mississippi State University has a flight lab that is working on unmanned drones and what they can mean for the future. So we will talk about that coming up in just a few minutes.
Okay, I appreciate that, Emily, with Mississippi Live News here in a couple minutes. The forecast for this evening includes a few rogue showers and thunderstorms out there. Coverage of those still fairly limited, about 10% or so next couple of hours, maybe coming up a little bit overnight, and certainly by tomorrow morning, when things Gabe and I talking about projections consistent on developing some thunderstorms then as well. You know, we have this front overhead, and this will be the focal point for some of those storms to get going. As we come back over and look at kind of the highest resolution version of Mama Justice Doppler radar, there's not a ton of activity out there at this time. We've had some heavier storms a little while earlier, but you'll notice how they kind of continue to generate in the same spot. Watch, this is a 1 hour loop in almost the exact same spots with some storms out there. So that has led to some locally heavy amounts of rainfall, and then a lot of cases where it just has not been super heavy. You know, rainfall rates decent on these rainfall totals, you know, depending on exactly which one of these we're looking at. Again, not over the top. Let me check a different projection here. Let's go up to the Memphis airport. There we go. That was the look I was expecting to see there. You know, somewhere around an inch and a half on the rain gauge there. So it's not extreme by any stretch of the imagination, but that's one of the factors, obviously, that these storms are presenting with them. Back on the wider shot, some lightning, and we'll continue to have, I think, some spotty showers down here closer to Macon as well and Louisville. These just kind of bebopping their way down in a southerly direction. You can see again that motion tells us the winds aloft are from north to south there. And these aren't particularly intense. Our camera there down in Macon, checking that out with the North Mississippi storm chasers there, as well as Fastnet, the folks at 4 County. Again, kind of looking a little south of some of those, but I mean, does not look that rough by any stretch. 92 current temperature, feels like 95 degrees there in the Macon area, and that's pretty consistent for spots around North Mississippi, up toward Houston. Mostly clear skies still showing up at this point in time. So we'll go back to the wider shot here. Again, that front is part of the story. I'm in a little too close, so let's get a little wider there. With this next storm system approaching, that will help increase storm chances over the next 24 hours as that gets a little bit closer to us. Certainly as we check out our storm futurecast, gotta get that in my head. For a zillion years, I called it Storm Tracker at the old place, and my brain still occasionally still goes with that name. But this does continue to show, again, some spotty showers out there, 10, 11 o'clock for tonight, and some regenerating. What we have going on here overnight is we have moist air that's trying to kind of ride over top of this boundary here, even though I drew it below, because that's unfortunately the way that particular green arrow works. And so you get a little bit of lift, and so from time to time you get these showers developing. A couple of hailstones possible out of these. I would say that's not impossible by any stretch. We have some out there, especially near the Arkansas state line, 6, 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And as that wave sort of drifts in, that will increase our coverage of storms as we go through the day. So we're about 30% on that rain coverage at 6 a.m., up to 40% by 9, 50% by noon. Here's one thing you need to know about tomorrow is that, sometimes the atmosphere takes a little while to recover. So if you get a heavy round, it could take a little while before the next batch tries to occur. But most likely time frame to see some of those stronger storms during the day, diminishing somewhat in the evening, but we'll still have a few chances. And then some drier air starts to kind of roll in, or at least begin that process that hopefully makes it a little bit less humid by the latter part of this week. We're looking ahead at those storm chances and assessing what kind of threats, and in particular where, using our futurecast. We're going to look at both main versions we typically look at here. That's coming up in a couple minutes, but 60 seconds from now, it's Mississippi Live News with our Emily Leonard. You're watching Mississippi Live at 5. Thanks for joining us. We'll be right back.
As a bankruptcy firm, Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling realizes many people are worried about their finances. We're here to guide you through the next steps to restart your life with easy video appointments. New clients don't have to leave home to get information about becoming debt free. Also, convenient in-office appointments are available at the low cost of $340. Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling today, or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.
Reserve your St. Jude Dream Home giveaway ticket by August 28th, and you'll be eligible to win the house and the bonus prize, a 2026 Polaris Ranger, courtesy of Dream Day Foundation. Visit dreamhome.org or call to reserve your ticket today.
I think I heard Mama.
Store your gun secured, unloaded, and away from ammo.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here on Mississippi Live. I'm Emily Leonard. Don't trust that $0 water bill. It might be wrong. The city of Grenada is switching to a new water billing system, and some customers are seeing incorrect balances during this transition. That includes unusually low amounts or even a $0 bill, which may not reflect what you actually owe them. The city says if your bill looks off, don't assume that nothing is due. Go ahead and call the water billing office to check it out. Corrected statements will go out as account reviews are completed. If you do have any questions, you can call them 662-227-3400 or visit them there on Main Street from 8 to 5. The Jetsons. It's getting closer to becoming a reality in Mississippi. I mean, sort of. We aren't flying the cars, at least not yet. But Mississippi's Raspet Flight Laboratory is helping develop that's hard to say, pilotless aircrafts, mainly for things like supplying offshore oil rigs and responding to disasters along the Gulf Coast. For more immediate impact for everyday people might be drones. Raspet developed a guide that could let local agencies, like maybe the police department, fly drones farther out of sight during an emergency. Think storm damage assessments, wreck scenes, or even game day traffic backups, all scouted from the air before the officers even arrive. The director, Brian Farrell, says the air taxi research is still at least 5 years out. Folks in Chickasaw County are mourning the loss of longtime lawman and public official Billy Voiles. The Sheriff's Department announced his passing today. He served many years as the Houston police chief and was serving as constable for the county. Funeral arrangements have not been announced. Please just keep the family, his friends, and fellow law enforcement in your prayers. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us here on Mississippi Live. I'm Emily Leonard. Have a great night.
There's been another deadly shooting at a local elementary school. According to authorities, the suspect acquired the gun from a family member's home before using it to take the lives of innocent children and teachers.
Store your gun securely, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo.
For years, it's been the same formula. If it bleeds, it leads. You deserve better. We are Mississippi Live. We're focused on the stories that matter to you, to your community, to your family, because local matters. We are Mississippi Live.
Every legend starts somewhere.
Not with perfection, but with the decision.
The decision to show up, work harder, and believe this place can change everything.
At Northeast, you're more than just a number.
We're built on opportunity, and our students are willing to rise to the occasion.
Here, success isn't handed to you. It's earned.
You don't just leave with a degree, you leave as a legend.
Right now, from the Mississippi Live Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobhon.
Welcome back to Mississippi Live here at 5. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. You can see at the top of your screen there, again, severe threats in place as far as this evening is concerned. None. And we'll, I guess, drag that back down in here and get that in place for you for a moment. But we're not expecting to have any for tonight. Now, tomorrow is a different story where we could potentially have some strong to severe thunderstorms popping up. Not expecting tornadoes. Again, that's kind of one with this. Level 1 threat there, and honestly, not even level 1, level 0 threat. Gabe has to remind me after the broadcast at some point I got to put in level 0 on there, so we'll go ahead and do that tonight. Level 2 as far as wind gusts are concerned for tomorrow, so a decent number of those a possibility, probably not like what we had on Saturday, but some damaging wind there, some damaging hail, also a possibility to go along with some heavy rainfall threats as well. Outside, as we look this evening in Batesville, it is 93 and kind of hazy there in comparison to some other spots. 100 for what it feels like. That feels like temperature is fairly brutal there in the Batesville area at this point in time. As we go out toward Pittsburgh, we're sitting at 88 degrees. That feels like temperature is 95. So, I mean, listen, not extreme. The moisture's been kind of coming back as a front has been lifting into the area, and that'll be, again, the focal point for some isolated storms this evening. And 93 feels like 99 in Booneville as of this hour. Those clouds, though, not much vertical development on those at this point in time. Checking out Mama Justice Doppler radar, there's not a lot of storms out there at this point in time. I'll make this a loop over the last 3 hours, and you can see we did have a few more, especially those that were there in Pontotoc County were a little bit heavier earlier on. I mean, we'll continue to probably have a few isolated storms next couple of hours, but it's not going to be an everybody thing, thankfully. But you'll notice here on Futurecast, this is that front we're talking about lifting in the moisture and the more unstable air. It'll continue to try to break out a few isolated storms this evening. But notice if we look at the color, and you know, this is always kind of one of those cheat sheets if you want to read between the lines and what we're thinking here. I'm not saying that we have to zoom into Starkville and say exactly 2 a.m., but when you look at the color table there, see how it's more kind of those medium sort of reddish, orange sort of colors as opposed to the deep, deep dark ones. When we get in those deep dark colors, we're more likely to see hail, damaging wind, that whole lot. And that's not necessarily the case, I think, overnight for us as our next storm system still approaching. And again, this will be what kind of helps us to have the lifting mechanism to produce some of those stronger storm chances for tomorrow. But there will be some overnight. One of the things we're monitoring, of course, our meteorologist Maggie McCauley will have updates on that starting at 6:30 a.m. or earlier if necessary, if we have severe weather that prompts severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings. We won't have tornado warnings, but if we're watching that, Maggie will be watching that overnight, 6:37 and 7:30 a.m., as she does every morning on Mississippi Live this morning. Appreciate her once again. And low 70s out there for lows by your early Wednesday morning. Wednesday school bus forecast, we're looking at 73 at pickup. 40% might be overdoing the coverage of storms, but I'll show that to you here in a moment because our different projections are a little heavier in some cases on the coverage of storms. More likely to see some, again, as the bus is dropping back off, and appreciate IMPC, our partners, again, on this school day forecast there. So severe weather risk, that level 2 out of 5 out here, Senatobia, west of Oxford, Water Valley, Grenada to the west. This again comes back to the number of reports, greatest number of reports in that yellow area there, and most likely be damaging wind gusts if we were to see something. Tornado risk, there's not one of any kind of significance for tomorrow. Large hail, most likely the northwest portion of the state. Even then, still some questions on that. Here's that coverage of rainfall. Notice the difference in overall amount of shower and thunderstorm activity. I want to go between a couple different projections here. So this is our strike model. Typically, I would lead with our HRRR, but this is strike. And then this is HRRR. Notice it's completely opposite on the positioning where storms are. As Gabe said before the show, take your pick, Matt. Good luck with the models. So what do we decipher from this? First off, we're going to have some overnight storms leading in tomorrow. B, there will be a decent number of us that probably end up having some rainfall around for the morning commute. And C, storms get heavier as we go through the day. These would not likely be severe thunderstorms, 7:30, 8, 9 o'clock for tomorrow. A couple of those getting heavier where maybe they could be by, say, 10 o'clock toward noontime. More likely, though, as these kind of get developing here closer to noontime and into the afternoon, that's when we start to see more of those darker colors, right? We talked about that a minute ago here, that almost blackish sort of red color. That's when we're more likely to get some of these to kind of get a head of steam picked up and produce some strong wind gusts with them. They overall are fairly disorganized, but there are going to be some out there with some hail and wind potential, even going into tomorrow afternoon to tomorrow, possibly evening. The initial wave there sliding south by that point in time and largely falling apart. So that's why, again, it's the northwest portion of the state most likely to see the impact. So now we're looking at a different version of Futurecast here. I'm showing you our HRRR model. I wanted to give you they're just so vastly different today that I just wanted to give you the idea that positioning on this is something that will be refined much more as we go later on this evening, 9 and 10 o'clock. If that's not a time period you typically check back in with Gabe, check back with him at 9 and 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock in particular. He'll have an updated look again at Futurecast here. But you'll notice by 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning on our HRRR here, what's interesting and what makes me kind of have a little bit more belief in this particular version is you can definitely see things ratcheting up by noontime. And this batch of thunderstorms, the way it's kind of aligned there, would probably have some stronger wind gusts with it as it expands southward. Notice it's a fairly quick expansion. If by noontime it's up closer to, say, Winona, and by 2 p.m. it's showing it from Kosciuszko to Columbus, that is a fairly swift moving batch of thunderstorms there. And you can see it does stay organized. Organized storms like that tend to have stronger wind gusts with them. And so I do think that remains a very real possibility that we could get, again, some damaging winds out of those storms tomorrow. And I would say that we're kind of more in the target zone than maybe the first of those two projections was indicating. And we'll break down again. Well, we'll look at triple threat, which analyzes the wind, hail, and heavy rainfall threat combined at 6 o'clock there, kind of breaking those down. Highs for tomorrow, this is probably a little optimistic. If you have as much rain as what we showed you a moment ago, we're not going to get quite this warm. If we do have a period to warm up a little bit, yeah, I think that's reasonable. But a lot of us will say upper 90s out there I think would be the exception to the rule tomorrow. Middle, maybe some lower 90s the case. As we go into the evening, notice how we have additional storms that try to move in from Arkansas there as we head toward late evening and the overnight hours. Most of us still dry at that point in time, or at least back to dry before another wave of storms. And the thing I hate about this, and I'm going to have to kind of go wider to show you, is that thankfully the severe portion of it would be fairly short-lived. And again, no tornadoes out of this. But additional showers still possible into early Thursday before that front back to the north and west brings a little bit less humid air and hopefully tries to shove some of the storms more out of here. So low temperatures on Thursday, low 70s out there, about 73 in Tupelo, 72 Houston, 72 for Greenwood, 73 for Cleveland and Clarksdale. Our normal's about 70, so still running a little bit above that in spite of that. And then here's that front trying to clear out some of the clouds and bring that less humid air behind it. Thursday's rain chances, don't you love it when they change like that? So again, that's us going between our HRRR that's aggressive on the dry air and our strike model that's like, it is summer after all. And with that in mind, I think that I'm leaning a little bit more toward keeping some of the rain chances in, like what you're seeing here with strike on Thursday. So you'll notice if we just went strictly off our HRRR model, we wouldn't have much out there on Thursday. I think we'll keep a decent coverage of showers at least through midday before they start to slide southward and regenerate that direction. Highs on Thursday. This again comes back to the positioning on that front. Assuming it runs a little faster, we will be a little cooler. I think up here in South Haven or Senatobia or Tunica, I think this is reasonably around 90. I think we are being a little kind to say 93 Macon, 92 Aliceville, 92 there for Columbus for highs on Thursday. That would be assuming, again, we have enough rain cool air to move through. Here's hoping that's the case, but again, that would be a kind way to look at it. Upper 90s out there either way, still for heat indices, still fairly hot. As we look at that 7-day forecast there, again, hour by hour for tomorrow, we're going to have a few showers and thunderstorms around early. Better chances to become more widespread in that 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon time period. Could have some strong to severe thunderstorms around then. There is not a tornado threat that we're concerned with. So I know, again, that's during the school day, and we always have somebody, it's like, well, do we send kids to school? Absolutely. Everybody's going to school, everybody's going to work. That's not an issue with this. But midday, some of the storms still could be strong to severe, and that is a little bit earlier than sometimes is the case. Certainly into the afternoon is when we'd say we kind of reach our peak. By 5 p.m., a lot of those storms south of here, and then diminishing after that. We're still 40% on that rain coverage on Thursday. That was the difference between those two projections we were looking at, with our strike model a lot heavier. That's assuming we still have some moisture, a decent amount of moisture around. Certainly first 2/3 of the day, the most likely time period to see it. Obviously by afternoon, the drier air is moving in into evening. And then we're drier, not completely dry as we look toward Friday. And look at this. Got to give Gabe credit. He did go for it. Upper 60s for early Saturday morning on the average. Some spots are going to be running a little bit cooler than that, believe it or not. 70 by Sunday, and lower 70s look toward Monday and Tuesday of next week, still running right back up, right back above normal. Let's talk here for a moment. Again, some rain and storm chances. That's one of those questions, folks always want to know a little bit about. Hopefully y'all are doing all right. Ready for football? That's absolutely the case. Holly, well, your son-in-law there is pretty good at science. So is your daughter, I guess. Very good at science. So we try to work a little bit of that in when we can there. But yeah, I appreciate y'all for, again, sticking with us here on Mississippi Live. We'll talk more again to Gabe during our 6 o'clock broadcast. But before we wrap this one up, I want to bring our Emily Leonard back in here for a moment as she's prepping things for Mississippi Live at 6. And Emily, looking ahead toward that, what y'all been working on today?
Well, Tupelo is going to have another drainage project. Seems like that's kind of a theme around here. Developments cause water to run off into the stream because the rainwater doesn't have anywhere to go because there's a house on it. Development is good, not so much for rain wash off. So drainage project coming up in Tupelo. We'll talk a little bit more about Dolly Parton, obviously, and coming up later at 9 and 10, talking about the Second Amendment tax-free weekend. It is coming up.
Right around the corner, right? And so the ways to maximize opportunity with that there. Again, that is something that, we do post all of this news. If you happen to miss part of it here, it's different at 5 than it is at 6 than it is at 9 and 10 as we, try to continue gather that local news and give it to you through the evening. You can check that out. We have a link where you can look at that right in the Mississippi Live app, again, free and available for all of those various devices. Coming up at 6 o'clock, we'll be using our triple threat exclusive here at Mississippi Live to take a look at where those storms are going to be the most likely to produce some damaging wind gusts there, some assessment on that. We're also tracking the tropics. We now have a disturbance out there, about 40% chance it could potentially become a tropical system. And believe it or not, that name Emily mentioned a minute ago could be that name. Dolly, could it form in the Atlantic? It could be happening sooner as opposed to later. We'll be looking at that in more detail coming up on Mississippi Live at 6. But thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you then.
I have been going to Tupelo Smiles my whole life. When I was a kid, I was unhappy about some uneven coloring on my teeth after getting my braces off, which at the time there really wasn't a fix. I was recently made aware of a solution that would totally fix it, which is exactly what we did. They not only heard my concerns, but they never stopped looking to solve my problem, and that's why I love Tupelo Smiles.